Welcome to Learning About Africa, where all roads lead to learningaboutafrica.com. My name is Kevin, and I'll be your guide today. While I was in the Gabonese Independence Celebration, I had the opportunity to meet a few Afro-Descendants that were all interested in what it takes to make it to Gabon. So today we're going to talk about what it takes to travel to Gabon. If you do a search, you'll find it simply says you just need your passport, you need to obtain a visa, and get your yellow fever shot. But I'm going to walk through all the steps I went to get through to Gabon. It is important to be aware that there are two ways to get a visa entry to Gabon. There is the visa procedure through the Embassy of Gabon to get a 5-year visa, and there is an e-visa on the Gabonese immigration website where anyone can apply online for a 1 to 6 month visa. Now, in my case, I decided to work with the Embassy of Gabon to get a 5-year visa. So I'm going to walk through all the steps that I went through to get to Gabon. So the first thing is you want to have a valid passport. Obviously, for the passport, you'll need proof of citizenship, proof of identity, application form, a DS-11 for a first-time applicant, and a DS-82 if you're renewing. Passport photo, I believe you have to have 2 of those to their specifications, and then their fees. I believe there are 2 types of fees, an application fee and an acceptance fee for a passport booklet or a passport card. You need the booklet for doing international travel. And I would suggest going to the passport website, the U.S. passport website, and there will be a link in the description below. The next thing is you'll need a copy of your yellow fever immunization card. Now, I happened to be living in Eugene, Oregon at the time, so I contacted Cascade Health and set up a consultation, which cost about $80, which doesn't include the cost of the yellow fever shot or any other medications that I choose to get. The consultation helped me fine-tune what I needed for my personal health issues, so that was very useful and something you may want to consider. Next, I needed a copy of my hotel reservation or an invitation letter at the address where I was going to live. Now, I used my friends at the African Basin Travel, or ABT. When you hear me mention Francis and his team in Gabon, they are who I'm referring to. So I'll put a link and a description below so that if you want to reach out to them. Anyway, they helped me arrange to stay at an apartment while I was in Libreville rather than staying at a hotel. So even though I took a side trip to Mouila for a couple of days, I was still registered at this apartment. Next was a money order for $200. I understand that normally it's about $160 for the processing fee, but because I was in a rush, it was about $200. That extra $40 went for sort of the rush charges to process it in such a short time. Now, visa requirements and types can vary, so it's a good idea to check with the Gabonese embassy or the consulate for the most accurate and current information on the cost and other requirements that you may need. As I mentioned earlier, there is an e-visa site, and though I've not used it, I will leave a link for it in the description below. The next thing I needed was a duplicate of the form application that I filled out and 2 photos, very much like what you do with your passport. The next thing they asked or they didn't ask it, but I did this. I did a prepaid overnight envelope because I was in a rush. Because I'd already booked my flight to Gabon and the fact that I was going to need my passport for a trip to Ireland I had already had scheduled, I didn't want to send my passport before my trip was completed. So when I returned, I was in a kind of a time crunch to send the information to the Gabonese embassy. I had just under 4 weeks to ship it, give them time to process it, and then get it shipped back in a timely fashion. So I got a prepaid FedEx package for overnight delivery from the embassy to my house, and then sent it with my paperwork in an overnight package to the Gabonese embassy. This would allow me the quickest way to get the information to them and to get it back from them, giving whatever time they needed to process it. So I would highly suggest giving yourself plenty of time so you can send it normally. But I would still suggest using a prepaid envelope with your paperwork. It just doesn't need to be overnight like mine was. And then send everything to the Embassy of Gabon if you're not doing the e-visa, which is at 2034 20th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C., 20009. And I'll leave that address in the description as well. So you can find the passport website, the Gabonese visa website, and the e-visa website and the address all in the description below. So here's some things that I think you should probably think about when it comes to the trip or the cost of the trip. Since there is only one airline that flies to Gabon as of the taping of this video, your cost will range from $2,300 to $3,300 and above, depending on how you fly, first class, business, or coach. Where are you going to stay in Gabon? And are you going to any other provinces, or are you staying just in Libreville for your visit? This is where ABT helped me get an apartment for the whole week. Even though I stayed in Mouila at 2 days at a hotel, we found it was still the most effective method to have that address throughout the entire trip. Now, the next question is, how are you going to travel around while you're in country? I found that my driver's license is not recognized in Gabon. So ABT arranged for a driver and a truck rental as we were going to places that needed a four-wheel drive. Think about food. What do you want your food experience to be like? I found this to be a great conversation, as my hopes are to bring all these dishes I had to this channel and to possibly even recreate them for those that would like to try to taste some of the authentic flavors of Gabon from their home. I talked with Francis and others at the ABT about what our food experience would be like, and built-in dining and other experiences around food and eating for what Gabon has to offer. Now, with the items mentioned earlier and taking into account adding extras, it can run you from $2,500 to much more per person for a week's stay, which again depends on a number of factors. You can very easily be looking at a total of $5,000 to $6,000 for your total for flight and all things we just mentioned. That is not to say that you may not be able to find better prices with a larger group, or maybe you want a much more personalized experience, which could be even more expensive. Francis and his team can help you fashion something for your needs. Now, please realize this trip was tailored specifically for me. I wanted to learn about Gabon today and some history about the experience my ancestors might have had. So through museums and other historical information, I wanted also to learn more about the Fong and Benga communities. I knew I needed to stay somewhere, but where and how and what would the cost be? So this is a conversation you'll want to have. I was going to need transportation, a driver, and an interpreter. I knew I was going to need someone with the knowledge of the areas I was visiting and guidance. So after a number of meetings with Francis and others in the ABT, with the help and guidance from Ambassador Masson and the embassy, we were able to create an itinerary for visiting Gabon. So the next series of videos will focus on my time in Gabon with more detail. Now, If this was helpful to you in any way, please leave comments or questions. If I can provide any more details for you, please let me know. And do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Please be sure to share the link and this video with others in your community. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to bringing you more meaningful content in the future. Until the next time, this is Kevin Harrelson with Learning About Africa.